In the top stories, Nevis escapes major damage from tropical storm Ernesto. Grenada to host celebratory events for returning Olympic participants, and Gaza death toll passes 40,000. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is August 15th, 2024. I'm Scotticia Hendrickson. Nationally, Premier of Nevis, Honorable Mark Brantley, has expressed relief and gratitude following Tropical Storm Ernesto's passage on August 13th, which left Nevis largely unscathed. He stated, "Now that Tropical Storm Ernesto has passed, we are assessing the damage. Preliminary reports indicate minimal impact, including fallen trees and minor property damage. Thankfully, there have been no fatalities or injuries. We should be truly grateful to God for sparing us the worst once again," the Premier extended. He extended his thanks to the hard-working public servants who ensured the island was prepared and who worked through the storm to restore services where outages occurred. He praised the Water Department for its continuous operation during the storm and noted that Nevlec experienced some interruptions but quickly resolved them. By Tuesday evening, Nevlec had restored power to 99% of the island. Brantley also commended solid waste management workers for their efforts to ensure timely garbage collection despite the adverse weather. Additionally, the Premier acknowledged the private sector's support, which allowed employees to focus on their personal storm preparations. Brantley credited Nevis's resilient infrastructure and the efficiency of its agencies on the island for the island's effective response to the storm. Our response reflects our resilience and the robustness of our infrastructure. Moving forward, we must continue to build on our preparedness to withstand future storms, he said. Following the all-care alert from disaster officials, crews from Nevlec, Public Works, Communication, the Water Department, and Fire and Rescue are actively patrolling Nevis to clear roadways and address any utility service issues. The effect of then Tropical Storm Ernesto was felt across the island on Tuesday as heavy winds and rains battered the country. On Tuesday, ZIZ News visited the southeast peninsula area to assess the damage and spoke with Angela Percival of Reggae Beach Bar and Grill at Cockleshell Bay. As work continued ahead of reopening, she spoke of how the weather disturbance affected business.
One of our tents were damaged by the storm. Our beach, as I say again, is filled with seaweed, so there's no beach for us really to put our chairs and umbrellas up. So we have to wait until the tide goes out, and then again we'll be back in business on the beach. The restaurant, it's in operation, but for now, but we won't be ready until tomorrow.
She said she is pleased that there were no major damages and Reggae Beach Bar and Grill would reopen on Thursday.
Some time back we had damages affecting the business, so we had to close for a few days, but this time it didn't do us too badly, but we'll be fine. We had a few tourists that came in already, so we had to tell them that we won't be open until tomorrow. The ferry services, it's mostly people from Nevis and bringing people to go to the airport, and sometimes they do stop here and have a drink. So I hope that by tomorrow they will be back in operation. And as I said before, Reggae Beach will be back in operation.
That was Angela Percival of Reggae Beach Bar and Grill at Cockleshell Beach on the effects of Tropical Storm Ernesto. Ambassador Her Excellency Jacinth Henry Martin, Ambassador to the United States and Permanent Representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to the OAS, delivered a speech on Monday, August 12th, commemorating the 7th Inter-American Week for Indigenous People at the special sitting of the OAS Permanent Council. During her presentation, Ambassador Henry Martin said the Federation stands in solidarity with Indigenous peoples in their fight to protect their lands and resources.
The right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is intrinsically linked to the well-being and survival of indigenous communities. Climate change, deforestation, and pollution disproportionately impact their way of life and cultural heritage. St. Kitts and Nevis, a small state impacted by the ravages of climate change, is seized of the fact that there being only one Earth, we all must share in the equal responsibility to protect and to preserve it. That is why we stand in solidarity with indigenous peoples in their fight to protect their lands and resources, and support enforcement of environmental regulations that safeguard indigenous territories and the recognition of indigenous peoples as vital partners in the battle in which we must all be engaged for environmental conservation.
Guided by the theme empowering indigenous communities to exercise their right to access to justice and to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, the commemorative week also served as an opportunity to highlight the ancestral knowledge of indigenous communities, their role as guardians of our global ecosystem, and their protagonism in the climate change agenda. After the break, regional news is next. Stay with us.
So get up and unite.
The CPL is back for 2024. And the St. Lucia Kings are hunting for their first title. This year, it will be the best ever CPL, with global superstars, massive sixes, and incredible entertainment at the biggest party in sport. Get your tickets now at cplt20.com.
In regional news, the government of Grenada is set to host a series of events this weekend to celebrate the achievements of the nation's athletes who participated in the recent Paris Olympics. The island's 3 Olympic finalists, Anderson Peters, Kirani James, and Lyndon Victor, are expected to return home on Saturday. Government officials, sports association executives, and family members will be on hand to welcome them. The public is invited to join the welcoming festivities outside the airport at 2 p.m. The weekend will also feature a national motorcade on Sunday, August 18th, starting at 9 a.m. from the Maroon Road. The motorcade will travel west through Gayambe, Kirani James's hometown, and continue along the east coast, including Subsea, Anderson Peterson's hometown, before concluding in La Saguise, the home parish of decathlete Lyndon Victor. The recognition rally will follow at least the La Sigue playing field. The acting Minister of Sports, Delma Thompson, noted that the events aim to honor the athletes who have brought pride to Grenada. She encouraged citizens to come together and participate in the Sunday celebrations. Minister Thomas also mentioned that significant announcements related to sports development will be made at the La Saguise rally. Additionally, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell will deliver a special address unveiling packages to honor all the Olympians, not just the finalists. The events are designed to be a grand celebration for Grenadian resilience and excellence, highlighting the nation's support for its Olympic participants. In Venezuela, the recent contested re-election of President Nicolas Maduro has raised fears of a new migration surge across Latin America. With over 7.7 million Venezuelans having fled in the past decade, neighboring countries are preparing for additional influxes. As uncertainty grows in Venezuela, many are considering migration. Pollster Jesus Seguias reports rising frustration among those who hoped for political change, driving more people to leave. In Peru, where many Venezuelans have already settled, local vendors are struggling with job competition and declining sales. The governments of Peru, Chile, and Brazil have tightened border controls in response. Chile plans to use thermal cameras to monitor illegal crossings and have seen increased anti-migrant sentiment. Experts warn that strict measures might worsen the situation, leading to greater vulnerabilities and illegal activities. Venezuelan migrants are increasingly facing dangerous journeys, and organized crime groups are exploiting their plight. In Colombia, which has granted temporary protected status to about 2 million Venezuelans, the future of this program is uncertain amid resource and political challenges. The ongoing crisis and Maduro's hold on power could lead to a continued migration flow impacting families across the region. In international news, tiers of graves are stacked deep underground in a bloated Gaza cemetery where Saeed Baraka spends his days hacking at the earth, making room for more dead. Baraka and his Solemn Corps volunteer gravediggers in Deir al-Bali cemetery start at sunrise, digging new trenches or reopening existing ones. The dead can sometimes come from kilometers away, stretches of Gaza where burial grounds are destroyed or unreachable. The cemetery is 70 years old. A quarter of its graves are new. The death toll in Gaza since the beginning of the 10-month Israel-Hamas war has passed 40,000, according to Health Ministry in the Hamas-run territory. The count does not distinguish civilians from militants. Meanwhile, 5 officials from Costa Rica's Child Welfare Agency have been arrested on charges related to trafficking migrant children for adoption purposes, authorities announced on Wednesday. Randall Zinga, head of the Judicial Investigation Agency, revealed in a video statement that the investigation began in 2022. This followed a report from the then president of the Child Welfare Agency about irregularities in adoption at one of its regional offices. The arrested individuals, who include lawyers and social workers, are accused of falsifying reports to justify removing children from their families. For instance, the alleged fabricated claims of drug use to facilitate the removal of children who were then placed into state care. The investigation further alleges that these officials sought to adopt the children themselves or become their temporary caretakers, thereby receiving government payments. Authorities have not disclosed the number of children affected or their current status. The national origin of the migrant children involved has also not been specified. The Human Trafficking and Migrant Smuggling Prosecutor's Office has requested that the arrested officials be barred from leaving the country. An international arrest alert has been issued for a 6th official connected to the case. And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy with passing showers. Winds are east-southeast at 8 to 15 miles per hour. The temperature is 31 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Low moisture levels will continue to limit shower activities across the region. The weather forecast for today predicts mostly sunny with a 30% or low chance of showers. Tonight will be mostly fair with a 10% or a slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:36 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:54 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Scotty C. Hendrickson.